25th century AD. We sat there and looked at the rockets from Mars, and you just boggled the mind. And the technology caught up, didn't it?
Now, of course, this ship has a lot of people ready and excited to welcome our crew back home, including Dr.
All right, and hello there, everybody. Welcome to what is going to be one of the most historical days since 1972. That was, what's the math, 56 years ago? Somewhere around there. I think that's the number that we've been throwing around recently. We've got the Artemis 2 crew returning from home after doing a flyby of the moon just a couple days ago. They're going to be splashing down here, back on Earth, in about an hour and 12 minutes. You can see the countdown clock there in the top left-hand corner of the screen from NASA's feed. I'm hoping you can hear me okay over the NASA stream. I might have to mute the NASA stream. It doesn't sound too bad listening to it on my end, so we'll keep the volume where it's at. If you guys find it hard to hear me over the NASA stream, let me know, and I'll turn the NASA stream down a little bit. And then we'll turn the NASA stream back up, obviously, once we get closer to time for the main events to happen. What an eventful week it has been. Past 10 days they've been up, just over a week actually. They've been up for almost 10 days now, doing their flyby of the moon. We've got some incredible pictures back, some views that we have never seen of the moon since the 1970s, when Apollo 17 had its final mission to the moon with the Apollo program. And it's just been crazy seeing the images we've gotten back, because we're in this era now where we have the digital cameras and we're not shooting on the Hasselblad film cameras, which, don't get me wrong, those cameras were gorgeous. The images they were able to capture on the medium format, I think it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it was 60 millimeter film in the medium format cameras for those Hasselblads that they were shooting with. And incredible quality on those images. But now we're in the digital era with the Nikon cameras that NASA sent up with the Artemis 2 crew. Nikon obviously being longtime partners of NASA with the imagery they capture on the International Space Station, and now for the Artemis program. Super high resolution digital sensors, and the quality we are getting back, like we're the highest resolution images we've ever seen of the moon and Earthrise. There was a solar eclipse that they just happened, I mean, rough air quotes, solar eclipse. So they just happened to capture the sun behind the moon and got an unintentional solar eclipse as they were doing their flyby. Just incredible stuff. I actually wish I would have had some of that stuff saved in my computer so I could pull it up here on the stream. I didn't think about that until just now. It's been kind of a hectic time. Obviously, we had the... We did live stream the launch of Artemis 2 on the SLS rocket back on April 1st. We unfortunately were not able to provide any commentary because I'm usually the one that does the commentary, and I was not available on that day for the launch. And the rest of the Launch Heaven crew was down in Florida documenting the launch from the press site down there. So we were kind of all over the place and just didn't have the opportunity to to commentate on anything back for the launch. But we're back today. We've got the splashdown happening here in just over an hour. I believe the number they threw out was like 8 p.m. or something like that, 8:05 p.m., something along those lines for Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the Eastern Time Zone in the United States, we're looking at 8 p.m. California, I believe they said is going to be a little bit after 5 p.m. So we're coming up here. It'll be about another hour we have to wait. I mean, you can see Earth still looks very far away in the live feed. We're getting back from Orion right now, which, by the way, that's another thing that has been awesome for this mission. We have gotten a 24/7 live view from Orion for the entire duration of the mission, except for obviously when they did their flyby of the moon. Once they got behind the moon, there was a loss of contact for a brief time because they weren't able to get line of sight with Earth to get their signal, to get the signal beamed back down, obviously. But other than that, going behind the moon, it's been an uninterrupted feed of the Orion spacecraft and the crew inside, live streaming the entire time, which is crazy to see that we have come so far. Like, we were able to live stream. We got the television broadcast for the Apollo missions, but it was not like a constant 24/7 feed that we were putting down. And so it's just crazy now to see that we have the ability to just put this feed up on YouTube or on Twitter, X, just for 24/7 as long as the duration of the mission goes. And we're going to see it literally. The Earth is going to get, it's getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. Over the next hour here, you're going to see Earth fill the entire frame. Well, we might see it fill the entire frame. I am going to say this live feed specifically is attached to the service module that Orion is attached to. And so they will have to jettison the service module before re-entry here in a little bit. And once that service module separates from Orion, we are going to lose that view there, obviously. I don't think they have any camera views that will be visible on the live stream from the Orion capsule itself. They might still have some views inside the capsule of the crew, but external views I think are going to be very limited once the service module drops off, unfortunately. We unfortunately aren't spoiled like we are with Starship, where Starship has the Starlink terminals on it, and you can just get that live feed down straight through Starlink, uninterrupted during re-entry and all that. I don't think the Orion capsule has that. I'm not sure if they are going to get that or not. There have been some rumors, but I don't know for sure what's going to be going on in terms of live feeds in the future for future missions. But yeah, this is like I was saying earlier, this is a pretty big deal. Seeing this first crew since Apollo 17 back in the 1970s returning home from their mission to the moon. Unfortunately, it wasn't a landing. I know. But we still got that flyby, much like Apollo 8 did back before our official moon landing was. Before the official moon landing on Apollo 11, we did the flyby with Apollo 8. And we're kind of following that same structure that Apollo had there in the beginning before the moon landing. Apollo 8 was the flyby. Apollo 9 was a low Earth orbit mission where they kind of just tested things in low Earth orbit before actually sending a crew out to the moon. And then Apollo 10, they sent crew out to the moon and did a rehearsal down to just a couple 100 feet or so above the surface before separating from their descent. Was it the descent module? I'm trying to remember the exact terminology for everything on the lunar excursion module in the Apollo missions. But they separated from descent module and ascended back into lunar orbit without actually doing a landing. And then Apollo 11 was a real landing. And so basically the main difference here with Artemis 2, especially after they changed the structure of everything back in, I think it was late February, early March, they changed the structure of how these missions are going to go. We're not going to see an Apollo 10-esque mission where we're going to go down to the surface barely and then shoot back up before we officially land. We're going to, so Artemis 3 was originally supposed to be the landing, our first lunar landing since Apollo 17. That has since been pushed back to Artemis 4, and Artemis 3 is being treated much like Apollo 9, where we're just going to go to low Earth orbit. We're going to dock Orion to whichever spacecraft ends up being the selected lander for the mission, whether it be Starship or it be the Blue Origin, Blue Moon spacecraft. I think they're right now the way they're doing it. Basically, whichever company finishes their lander first is going to be the one that gets the contract for that first landing on Artemis 4. So there's kind of a race right now to see who can get their lunar lander finished first. Obviously, Starship has faced some delays. Blue Origin has yet to launch any of their landers yet. I know they've got Blue Moon Mark 1 that they're going to be... It's very close. I'm not sure how close, though. They have it in testing. It's basically built and ready, but they've been putting it through tests with acoustics and stuff like that to make sure that it's going to be able to survive the vibrations being launched into orbit and everything else. And then, obviously, we still have to see it get launched and successfully land on the moon before they can move forward with anything else. So a lot of that stuff still look forward to. It does kind of, at least with me, it's a little concerning seeing these companies get rushed the way they are. But Artemis is already years behind schedule, unfortunately. Whoops, did not mean to push that button. I unmuted. Have my own voice in my ear. That wasn't good. But I lost my train of thought there. Artemis is already years behind schedule, and it's unfortunate. There's been all kinds of weird things that have been going on with the Artemis program, with contractors moving slower than they have to, and all kinds of other stuff. And so it's like we want to see Artemis get a move on, and we want to see it start, we want to see missions start happening, and we want to see we want to see milestones reached. But at the same time, I don't want to see the program get rushed, because when you rush, it's when you make mistakes. And I don't want to be a doomer or anything like that, but I want to see it done right rather than rushed just to meet a quota or something like that. So I'm hoping that we're still, even though it seems like we're trying to kind of excel the timeline here, I'm hoping that there's still those quality checks going on behind the scenes, and all of the engineers that are building these things aren't being pressured into checking things off without it being properly checked and stuff like that, because I know that's happened in the past with missions, and I don't want that to happen again. So that's my little rant about the Artemis program there. Apologies if that triggered anybody or anything like that, but it's just one of those things, you know? And so, yeah, Artemis 3 will be that low Earth orbit mission with whichever company, SpaceX or Blue Origin, whichever one wins the race to get theirs ready first. And then Artemis 4 will be the first official lunar landing since Apollo 17 in the 1970s, which right now we're slated for 2028 for that lunar landing. And that low Earth orbit mission with Artemis 3 is supposed to be next year. And it's the craziest thing. You guys might disagree with me on this, but I think it's going to be the craziest thing, because it looks like the hardware for SLS is ready, and they're going to be stacking it here very soon. SLS could potentially be stacked and ready to go before either of the landers are ready, which I know at the pace that Blue Origin and SpaceX are moving, it's kind of crazy to say that they're moving slower than NASA, but that might be the reality we live in 2027, because they're already starting, I think NASA already released applications for it's a NASA social event, so social media content creators are able to apply to it. But basically, they're going to be prepping to roll out the core stage, the big SLS core stage, rolling it out of whatever facility they have it in right now, to take it into the VAB and bring it vertical to begin stacking the components. I think the boosters are ready. I noticed something. I think there's components being shipped via train already. I saw some stuff on X. They're being loaded on the train. So hardware is ready. It's coming to Florida here very soon, within the next couple of months. So stacking will begin here by middle to late 2026 here. And I think early to mid 2027 will be when we see that stacking complete, as long as they stay on pace. So I know that's like, I might be sounding very optimistic right now, but that's kind of how I'm thinking right now, just because it seems like NASA is becoming a lot more efficient with things. Jared Isaacman is in there. Love him or hate him, he is dramatically improved the flow of everything at NASA, in my opinion, in terms of them hitting their milestones and stuff. And it was kind of the same thing back in the 2016 to 2020 administration when we had Jim Bridenstine. He was also one of those guys that kind of set a fire under NASA and the contractors that are hired by NASA to get a move on with things. And that was when we really started seeing them pick up the pace with the first SLS rocket for Artemis 1. And then we, you know, I don't want to get political, but there was a suspicious slowdown with things once we got into the next administration after that. And we're into the new administration, and we've got Jared Isaacman, and things are starting to speed up again. So it really all comes down to the administrator in charge on how they want to handle things. Like I said, I don't obviously fully agree with like rushing the process, but I want to see the milestones hit, but I want to see it done right. There's a balance to it, and I think Jared Isaacman is finding that balance. So really cool to see the progress that's being made. We are in a new era, everyone. We are in a new era. This is the next... This is the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha Apollo era, essentially. I mean, this will be any of our first times witnessing this happen in real time. And we've obviously got technology drastically better from the Apollo era. Where, like I said, we're getting 24/7 live streams of these missions now. And I'm sure we're going to get those same views with the lunar landings. Whether it be SpaceX or Blue Origin, we're going to try and get live. I'm sure they're going to try their best to get live feeds of that landing happening, like onboard cameras coming from the lander. And it's going to be crazy to see just the access that we're going to get just due to the improvement in quality for the like video broadcast side of things.
Decelerate the vehicle from traveling around Mach 33 to just 19 miles an hour at splashdown. All of that happening in just 13 and a half minutes.
This view you're getting right here, you can see, why can I not remember which astronauts are in which seat? I think it's,
sequential fashion as these milestones.
Let's do a little look here.
And as we hear from the crew during its entry back into the Earth's atmosphere, and ultimately when they emerge from the blackout period.
I'm going to do a Google search real quick because I need to make sure I got my my information correct.
So with all of those preparations ongoing, we can return here briefly for another report from the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan?
All right, I think the two sitting in the front, I was correct. It's on the left-hand side here, in the views you got, is Reed Wiseman, who is obviously the commander of the mission in the left seat on the left-hand side, and then the pilot of the Artemis 2 mission, Victor Glover, is on the right-hand side of the screen here. And then there are two seats that are behind them, which is where Christina Cook and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen is sitting in. And so you can't see Christina and Jeremy, but the view you got right now, seen here, two astronauts suited up, is Reed Wiseman and Victor Glover. They are obviously donned in their spacesuits now. Just before I started the stream, they went through all of their leak checks and everything and donned their spacesuits, made sure everything was good to go on their end before they re-entered the atmosphere. Which the suits they're wearing are not like, they're not full-blown spacesuits per se, but they are basically like a, I'm trying to think of how to word it. They're basically a giant, it's a giant life support system, essentially. Like, the suit is pressurized, so they've got good air pressure, and it is providing oxygen to them through lines that are attached to the suit itself. And so in the event, on re-entry, or even before re-entry, for as long as they are outside of the atmosphere and don't have good air pressure and good like source of oxygen coming into the vehicle, if for whatever reason the Orion spacecraft loses pressure, they have those spacesuits on to basically protect them and keep their bodies under a good pressure, keep the oxygen flowing to them and stuff. So that's why they got their spacesuits donned for re-entry there.
Helicopters that will go recover the crew. This is just one of the many things that, again, are a ship of 550 people. It's something that you oversee as commanding officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Every commanding officer, I would say really every naval service member, our priority is always safety. And as the commanding officer, I take that as one of my primary roles here on board. Mission accomplishment is important, safety always. So my day really has, I would say my message to the crew has sort of changed over the past 24 hours. As we're leading up to today, we've been building up the excitement and motivating the team for the training that we've executed. But really over the past 24 hours, now I'm trying to get us to slow down a little bit. Trust our training, right? Don't believe all the hype. Don't believe everything that's going on. Just let's trust what we've done to get to this point, and if we do that, we'll be successful today.
And also part of the big success is obviously the coordination between NASA and the U.S. military. How does it feel being able to support the human space program we have?
Yeah, I mean, since 1959 with Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, the history between NASA and the Navy has been in lockstep. But like any other skill, if you don't practice it regularly, that skill atrophies. So we've had a few decades off from that.
I actually have no idea what's being said in this interview here. I've had my volume muted the entire time, just so I can hear myself think, because if I unmute the NASA stream on my end, it's obviously unmuted for the stream itself, but I have it muted on like the back end to where I physically can't hear it, just because my voice is going to come over top of it if it's all unmuted. So let us unmute this and just take a listen, see what they're chatting about.
Yeah, you had some great words this morning saying just that, again, that it's really nice to see everybody working together and so excited. I mean, you just became the commanding officer of this ship back in February. How does it personally feel for you to be a part of this historic moment today?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'd say any opportunity to command any warship in the United States Navy is a tremendous honor, is a pinnacle of any naval officer's career. That being said, as my change of command was approaching, and I realized that Artemis was going to be in the window here, to say that I'm humbled and honored to be here is an understatement. What really just excites me is the opportunity to see this crew, who has been training so hard over the past year plus, come together. It is what inspires me. Listening to NASA and the ownership and pride they take. They make my crew better. I think we're making NASA better together. That synergy is something that I'm happy to see and hopefully take forward with me in my career.
Yeah, it's all about partnerships. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't have gotten to the moon without our international partners as well. So thank you so much, Captain. It was really great to have you here today.
Thanks, Megan.
Awesome. All right, Rob, back to you.
Thank you, Megan. Back here in Mission Control in Houston. We just had a quick view of the crew. We'll get that view back, and there they are again. Here in Mission Control, the entry team of flight controllers led by Rick Henfling and Jackie Mahaffey serving as the spacecraft communicator. We have just handed over communications links from the Deep Space Network that we communicated with the crew through from the time of the translunar injection burn back on April 2nd. We've just handed back to the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system as we prepare for the crew module service module separation that will take place just 17 minutes from now. With the Earth looming in front of Integrity as it barrels back for a splashdown of the Pacific just 50 minutes from now, we're just 5,700 nautical miles from splashdown. Just one other quick note about the comparison from the Artemis 1 entry profile to the Artemis 2 entry profile, and how that is serving as an extra layer of protection for Integrity's heat shield. The Artemis 1 entry had an entry range of some 3,178 nautical miles, a very long downtrack, and a very longer period of exposure to heat loads than we're experiencing tonight. It also had that skip entry profile that we discussed earlier, dipping into the Earth's atmosphere, then back out, then back in. It was about 20 minutes of exposure.
Integrity, Houston, comm check on TDRS.
Jackie, we have it loud and clear on TDRS.
We have you the same.
And there's one of the weather balloons being deployed from the USS John P. Murtha. So the Artemis 1 entry had the vehicle.
The update on GPS, we haven't seen a track in yet.
Reed, we are watching. We are starting to get into the window where they may start acquiring, so should be within the next 10 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. We're holding at step 17 and getting ready for CM-RCS hot fire.
And that exchange indicating that we are expecting to acquire data from the GPS system on board. That'll be a navigational tool that will basically tell Integrity's computers that they're on track down the center line of the corridor for the entry interface that will lead them to their splashdown point. Once again, the Artemis 1 entry exposed the heat shield for about 20 minutes of peak heating. For Artemis 2, we're going to reach a downtrack distance of 1,701 nautical miles from the point of entry interface with just 14 minutes of duration. And it's basically a different angle of attack, a little bit steeper angle of attack that will protect the heat shield from excessive heat loads. So that is the difference between Artemis 1 and Artemis 2, all designed into this mission to gather data, to protect the heat shield, since the Artemis 3 mission and beyond will have a different designed heat shield that will allow that skip entry type of profile to be resumed for all of the future missions coming back from the south pole of the moon when we initiate lunar landings. So we've handed over to the tracking and data relay satellite system. That's where we'll have communications for the rest of the flight. Just to give you some time hacks here, we're 13.5 minutes away from crew module, service module separation, and just 17 minutes away from the raise burn, that 19-second firing of the thrusters that will basically be the final fine-tuning of the angle of attack for Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. And once again, a dueling box view of some of the assets that are involved in recovery operations today.
All right, so basically what they're talking about here is a lot of it, like the mission profile for the reentry here. Really cool view. It looks like we got a helicopter in the area with a live feed coming, so that's going to be really neat if we can actually see the reentry happening from the air from that helicopter cam. And then also like the Orion spacecraft undershoots and stuff after it gets through reentry. That would be really cool to see from the helicopter view. But as far as profile goes, like they're saying, there's going to be one more. They made it sound like there's going to be one more trajectory. See if I can get these words out without twisting them. I was going to say course correction. I was going to try to say the big fancy words. I don't think they're going to come out right. But course correction burns from the service module. It'll be the last one, just to make sure that they are 100% on the right course for their splashdown zone off the coast of California.
Prior to the separation
and
of the crew module from the service module.
as soon as that correction burn is done, they are going to separate from the service module and get some distance from it, so that way once reentry happens, the service module does not come back at them and collide with the spacecraft, because that would not be good. And so that should be coming up here shortly. I don't know if they said when it was going to happen. I may have just missed that part there. But it's coming up fast. I do have a separate view here. Let me throw up my split screen view here, and I can't even see it very well from my point of view. It's so tiny on these screens. I need to get bigger monitors.
Where we are dead spot on down the middle of the corridor.
If I can, oh, here we go. This is a good view. If I can make this bigger.
44 minutes from now.
Oh, it's right in front of my face. All right, here we go. So we are currently 5,000 miles away from Earth. The Orion spacecraft is currently 5,000 miles out, which sounds like a lot, but this thing is cooking. It's moving 16,000 miles an hour right now, and that speed is only going to continue increasing as we get closer and closer to Earth. We're probably going to be sitting around like 20,000 miles an hour, if I had to guess, once it reaches like its peak acceleration before reentry. And then once it hits the atmosphere, it's obviously gonna hit kind of like a wall. It's not gonna be like as hard as a wall, but because of how fast it's coming in, air resistance is going to happen a lot sooner, even in the really thin parts of the atmosphere.
16,000 miles an hour.
And so we're seeing it accelerate right now. We're still, they have a clock up. Their clock is not up currently. I think we're just under 50 minutes. 50. I think we're just under 50 minutes out from re-entry and splashdown. So it's all going to happen really fast. It's accelerating fast. The closer they get to Earth, the more gravity takes hold of the spacecraft.
100 miles from Earth. Splashdown scheduled 43 minutes from now. We're just 9.5 minutes away from the crew module, service module.
The visualization you got on the screen right here, the 3D visualization. You can see the spacecraft. I'm not sure if that burn has, obviously, like I said, I got the NASA stream muted here, so I don't hear myself talking over myself, and it's going to trip my thoughts up. But looks like they are reorienting the spacecraft, either for that correction burn I was telling you about, or they're getting ready to separate from the service module. So one of those two things will be happening here momentarily. I don't know which one because I haven't really been listening. I've just been kind of rambling on my own here.
In advance of the crew module, service module,
and then the view that you have on your on the right hand side of the screen is just a view of the trajectory overall of Orion coming back into Earth. Obviously, this is a free return trajectory, so when they did their loop around the moon, after they got out of the moon's sphere of influence and the Earth's gravity took back over, they're basically on a trajectory to just immediately re-enter Earth's atmosphere. There's no additional burns needed to put themselves back in orbit around Earth or to lower their apogee or their perigee. Nothing special like that. No other burns required. It's pretty much they pass the moon and they're on their way back home immediately. Like, done deal. So that's why, like I said, their speed is increasing dramatically because they're just coming straight back down to Earth essentially. You can see the their path, the blue line, very much like a it's got this arc look to it. They're swinging right in, around the Earth as they return from the moon. It's a pretty gnarly profile.
Their entry preparations. And
obviously, these guys in the spacecraft, in the Orion spacecraft, these astronauts, they're trained for it. All of the forces they're going to be submitted to on reentry. I believe they mentioned that on this specific reentry profile here. Oh, here we go. 40 minutes until the splashdown, which means the reentry will be happening just a little over 39 minutes from now, I believe, because reentry, I believe, it's in that 7 to 9 minute window is the full duration of reentry with Earth's atmosphere for this particular mission. But they mentioned it's following a very similar profile to Artemis 1, where it's going to kind of do like this bounce maneuver to bleed off a lot of speed long, gradual amount of time.
navigational data
So
for
basically,
integrity through the
it's going to
dual
hit the
positioning
atmosphere,
system
it'll bleed off some
equipment on
speed, but then
board.
it's going
We
to...
just don't have it yet, but we will.
I basically jumped back
Hull
out of the
integrity
atmosphere
systems are in
temporarily
great shape to support its
for it,
high-speed
just for it to
entry
come
into
back
the
down
Earth's
and hit the atmosphere again and then bleed off the rest of that
once
speed.
again,
And the
will
reason
reach
they're
a
doing
peak
this weird
speed
bounce
of
profile is so that way they
24,661.21
can
miles an hour.
reduce the heating that Orion experiences on re-entry. Obviously, we had some controversy with the heat shield on Orion a while back. And there's some concerns that the heat shield, in its current configuration or its current makeup, is not actually able to handle the heating that they're experiencing on their way back from the moon. From Artemis 1, Orion survived re-entry on Artemis 1, coming back from the moon, unmanned, but there were pictures that were released showing very large chunks of the heat shield taken out that were exposing kind of like vital components underneath the heat shield that aren't really supposed to be revealed, and there shouldn't be chunks that large being taken out of the heat shield either on re-entry, and so they're basically changing up the trajectory a little bit where they're really extending out that re-entry profile to make them... It's going to be a very long re-entry, but it's going to reduce that peak heating that the vehicle experiences to hopefully limit how much that heat shield ablates away. So they're not putting the crew at any risk of the heat shield penetrating through the vehicle, or the plasma re-entry penetrating through the vehicle, excuse me. But yeah, that's kind of that's the trajectory they're following here for re-entry, and it's all going to happen very quickly. Re-entry should be happening here soon. We should also be seeing the service module separate from Orion here very soon, because, like I was saying, we want to see that distance happen between the two. Because the service module will burn up on re-entry, and nothing will be left of it. But we want the service module to get plenty of distance away from the Orion spacecraft side. Once they hit the atmosphere and they start getting that atmospheric drag, the service module is not thrown back into the Orion spacecraft, because that would cause a lot of problems for the astronauts on board. And so we should be seeing separation happen here soon, and then after that, Orion is essentially free-flying into the atmosphere.
By Integrity's thrusters, with a change in velocity of 9.9 feet per second, a slight nudge of the aft end of the vehicle.
Like I was saying, that speed increasing, we were sitting at like 16,500 the last time I was talking about it. We're up to 17,500 now. And that speed is dramatically increasing the closer and closer we get to Earth. They're coming in hot. They're coming in very hot. And that the distance from Earth is closing down very quickly as well. We were sitting at 5,000 miles when I was just talking about it a couple minutes ago, and we're already down under 4,000 miles now, 3,800 miles away from Earth. So the Orion spacecraft is cooking. They are like the fastest man-made object right now. Well, I take that back. The Voyager spacecrafts are the fastest man-made object because they're interstellar right now. But this is the second fastest man-made object. They're going to be coming in between 20 to 25,000 miles an hour re-entering Earth's atmosphere, which is just insane to think about.
What happened is, while the thrusters were firing, multiple pressure sensors on each of the strings diverged a bit from each other. Those limits look to be set pretty tight. We think it could happen again when the thrusters fire in the future, so we are going to suppress those messages.
We concur with suppress, not inhibit. Thank you.
That exchange between Jackie Mahaffey, our Capcom for tonight, and Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity, indicating basically to ignore sensor data. All of Integrity's systems are in good shape. Now, coming up on about 90 seconds till the crew module, service module separation. All quiet here in Mission Control as we enter the most critical phase of the completion of this flight. All of the preparatory activities leading up to the vehicle entering the Earth's atmosphere just 21 minutes from now. Coming up on 1 minute. Mark 1 minute till crew module, service module separation. And we have confirmation of crew module, service module separation. And a great view, albeit momentarily.
Houston, good stuff on board.
Houston copies and concurs.
The European service module now separated from Integrity, a job well done.
Integrity, no action for the 4 CDH cautions. Those are SM related, not applicable.
Integrity.
So with Integrity
And
now flying
there we
free
have
on
it,
its own
folks.
for
That was
the
the service
remaining
module
32
separation,
minutes
as I
of
was
this
saying, was
mission.
coming up very soon.
Next up,
Even
the
though
raised
they are
burn,
still
19-second
about,
firing of
what are we looking at?
Integrity's thrusters.
They're still 3,000 miles out, but they're going to need that distance to make sure they get plenty of separation from the service module itself. And obviously after separation happened, you're seeing now as well
Coming up on the
that
2-minute
feed
mark
dropping
until
out, the video
raised
feed
burn.
we've
Again,
had for
this
the
is
past
final
10
time
days,
of
basically,
the
with the
orientation
24/7 live stream.
of Integrity.
Officially coming to an
Put
end,
it
that feed
in the,
is, and
right,
it will be
angle, if you will,
burning
the
up
angle
on
of attack
re-entry here
that it,
in
will fly
just
in
under,
during its
oh,
entrance into the
yeah,
Earth's
just under half an
atmosphere.
hour here.
Entry interface
That
now just
service module
18
will
minutes,
burn
25
up.
seconds away.
I don't know why the visualization still
This is,
shows the
a
service module
visualization, but
attached.
driven by real-time telemetry. This is the maneuvering
I wonder if
of
the telemetry is a
Integrity
little
to the
delayed
raised
on it.
burn orientation. Just 2,800 miles from Earth.
But that service module will burn up. That feed has come to an end officially, and it is now whatever we get back from the Orion spacecraft, if they were able to show any of the feeds on the inside of the spacecraft, of like the crew on the inside. It might be neat, which I'm thinking, I have to remind myself, once again, we're not going to be spoiled like we are with the SpaceX streams, where we get views of re-entry, because Orion does not have Starlink on board like Starship does.
1 minute away
So
from the raised burn.
we're unfortunately going to have, there's going to be a total communications blackout during the 7 to 9 minute period of re-entry. And then once they get through re-entry, we'll reestablish communications. And that, if there are any live feeds, that will be when we start seeing them on board. If there's any camera views on board Orion that we're getting down, it will be after re-entry occurs. In which we might get some feeds before re-entry starts. We might get a view of the crew in there. I'm not sure. Like I was saying, I don't know how the downlink is working between NASA and the Orion spacecraft in terms of getting that footage down, getting the live feeds down. I don't know if that was like dependent on the service module getting that stuff down, because maybe that's where all the antennas, like the higher bandwidth antennas, were to get the large video files through. Maybe that was all on board the service module. I'm not 100% sure how it's all laid out, and so we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm not gonna sit here and speculate for the next half hour about what we may or about how everything might be working. We'll just see what happens here.
Raise burn is underway. A 19-second firing of the
We're
thrusters.
closing in on 19,500 miles an hour.
Of the burn.
Still speed increasing as we get closer and closer to Earth.
Integrity, good. CM raise burn. Your flight path angle is within limits.
Integrity copies. Looks good on board, Jackie.
So the final maneuver is now complete. Our trajectory for a splashdown in the Pacific 29 minutes from now is set and will not be amended any further. And we have the right angle of attack to mitigate any excessive heat loads on the vehicle during entry interface.
Integrity Houston, a heads up about comm coverage. When you perform the 180 roll, for the first minute or so in that attitude, we expect about a minute LOS.
We copy.
So for those who are watching the series of events coming up, we will enter the first traces of Earth's atmosphere 14 minutes, 45 seconds from now. 6:53 and 30 seconds is what is pegged for entry interface at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling at approximately 34,800 feet per second, range to touchdown or splashdown 1,701 nautical miles. 24 seconds after entry interface, we will enter a 6-minute blackout period in which we will lose communications with the crew. This is expected due to the buildup of plasma around the vehicle. That's an ionization effect due to the collision, if you will, of the velocity of the spacecraft with the friction of the Earth's atmosphere. That 6-minute blackout is expected to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. During that period of time, we will reach our peak speed of 24,661 miles per hour. That comes just short, based on unofficial data from the flight dynamics officer right now, will come just short of the velocity record set by Apollo 10 of 24,791 miles per hour in 1969. We expect peak heating on the vehicle at 6:54 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, a minute and 22 seconds into entry interface. At that point, we will be just 204,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 33,000 feet per second. The blackout period is expected to last 6 minutes. We expect that blackout period to end at 6:59 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time. From the end of the blackout period until splashdown, it is just 7 minutes, at which point we'll start deploying the series of parachutes to slow integrity down to an ultimate splashdown velocity of just 19 miles an hour.
We see the same, waiting for the 180 rolls.
The parachute deployment sequence, once again, will come in several segments, but in rapid fire succession.
And we have a great view of the moon out window 2. Looks a little smaller than yesterday.
So there you heard making them, or holy crap, if I can talk tonight.
Guess we'll have to go back.
There you heard them talking about the reentry. The blackout period is going to be about 6 minutes, which is actually shorter than what I thought, because I thought it was like a 7 to 9 minute, 7 to 9 minute period that they had the blackout. But 6 minute communications blackout. Once they get the reentry, That's when you're going to see them reestablish communication. We'll see parachutes deploy, and we'll have the splashdown not long after that. And it's coming up fast. Like I keep saying, I was expecting this to kind of feel like a longer burn. I felt like this is going to last way longer, but we're moving. Things are moving really fast. We're already under 30 minutes, under 25 minutes, in fact, until the actual splashdown happens, which means the re-entry will be starting here in just under, give or take, probably 17 minutes, if my math is correct there. My math probably isn't correct there, because I'm trying to account for the time period that re-entry will actually take compared to when splashdown happens, because they're actually going to be splashing down in 24 minutes, and so the 9-minute period when they're re-entering the atmosphere, it's going to be starting a little bit sooner than that.
The vehicle is now currently in a roll to the proper attitude for entry interface. Our trajectory is right on according to flight dynamics.
And it sounds like I muted the stream again because I started talking, but it sounded like they were doing some checks and stuff. They are orienting the Orion spacecraft itself into the correct orientation it needs to be in for re-entry. They mentioned doing some like 180-degree rolls or something along those lines, which
is on a trajectory
I can only assume is to get the spacecraft itself into the proper orientation.
Descending at a rate of
the blunt end down towards the flamey part of re-entry. You don't want the pointy end pointing down. You want the blunt side of the spacecraft facing down towards the atmosphere. That's where you're going to have the most aerodynamic control, and you're going to have the most protection from your re-entry heating, because that's where our... that looks like our onboard. Is that an Orion onboard view that we see right there? Re-entry is not happening yet. I don't know what that view is.
Integrity.
It looks like there's a horizon out there, though, so that could be a view coming from like a boat.
Looks good on board,
or a helicopter or something like that. It looks like there's water on the glass and stuff. It looked like, at first glance, that looked kind of like it looked like one of the windows on the Orion spacecraft. And it could still be the Orion spacecraft, but I'm not 100% sure because we're freaking unmuted. Let's listen. Oh, doesn't sound like they're talking.
Away from entry interface, 22 minutes from splashdown.
Nope, I was right. That is a view. That is a view out of Integrity's window, which is crazy to think about. You can see the spacecraft. Oh yeah, there's the astronauts right there. You see the reflection of them there in the window now as it reorients itself. And so the horizon we were seeing probably was Earth's horizon. There's the blackness of space. And we were probably seeing a glimpse of Earth's horizon right there out the window.
Just a few clouds.
But that is a live view coming from Orion. As I was saying, might happen. Before reentry happens, we have a live view looking out the window from Orion. So we might see the very beginning phases of reentry before the blackout happens. We'll have to see here what happens here in a couple minutes once reentry starts. I believe reentry interface has already begun. They're starting to hit like the first remnants of the atmosphere. It's obviously very thin where they're at. They're only, where are we sitting at right now? Oh, they're under 1,000 miles away now. But 1,000 miles is still pretty far. I mean, they're pretty high up there, and so they are hitting the most minuscule parts of the atmosphere. But like I said, they're coming in so fast that even the thinnest parts of Earth's atmosphere are going to make a big difference, a big impact on their speed as they re-enter, just because of how fast they're coming in. And so it's really cool to see this live view coming out of the Orion capsule from the window there.
Houston copies.
It will be neat if we can get an actual view of the Earth horizon there, which I think there's a little light peeking out there from this view. I think that is the Earth right there as they orient themselves. But it'd be cool if we can actually like get some Earth views as they re-enter here before the communications blackout happens. Current speeds, 22,000 miles an hour. Let's pull up our little graphic here. 22,000 miles an hour. This is live telemetry coming down from Orion.
Instruction 509. We
Just
are
under
not below
670
0
miles away from the Earth. They're closing in very fast. They're right above ISS height right now. So they're going to be passing ISS height here in just a minute or two.
Integrity, no action required.
23,000 miles an hour.
Integrity.
That feed from Orion starting to cut out.
Now 6 minutes
They're
away from
probably
entry
not getting the
interface.
most direct line of sight
We,
with
will hit
the
first
ground
traces
stations.
of
That
Earth's
where
atmosphere at an
when you're
altitude of
really far away from
400,000
Earth, it's a lot
feet.
easier to get line of
Traveling
sight with a
about
ground station on Earth,
4,882
just because
feet
like
per
the
second
angles are so
ranged.
minuscule. Like
Splashdown at that point
when you're that
will
far
be
away, you're basically
1,701
perfectly
nautical
aligned in a
miles.
straight line with the ground stations. But once you're right above Earth, then you start to get your spotty coverage when you're you get out of line from those ground stations a lot easier when you're a lot closer to the Earth. And so we'll see if we can keep this feed for the duration of until the communications
And once
blackout
again,
coming
just
up
a
here.
reminder, some 24 seconds
That communications
after
blackout,
entry
I'm assuming,
interface,
is going to
we do
happen
expect to
here
lose
around
communications with
the
vehicle and the crew during a 6-minute
I don't know,
blackout
9-minute
period
mark.
when a plasma shield will build up around the spacecraft.
Somewhere, I'd say 11
due
to
to
9
the
minutes if my math is
ionization
mathing.
due to heating effects.
You got the Earth views there, the Earth's horizon out the window.
And flight dynamics
Unfortunately,
has
it's
just
overexposed.
confirmed,
You're not
we
seeing
will
much
have a
detail there.
blackout period of exactly 6 minutes in
Maybe we'll get a
duration.
better exposed view of Earth as
And
they
once
get
again,
closer.
that's due to the fact
That camera.
a plasma buildup
Camera is
around the vehicle
it's set to
will prevent, communications and data,
auto exposure,
we will
so
not be able to
hopefully
talk
we'll see the
to
camera
crew
correct itself
members
as they
at
get
that
closer to
time,
the Earth.
nor will we receive data here in the flight control room.
Houston, everything is looking good on board. Just confirm no pre-EI downloads.
Houston concurs.
That blackout period to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time, and again will last about 6 minutes in duration. We're 4 minutes away from entry interface.
There we go. There is our properly exposed view of Earth. The reentry is going to be starting here very soon. 280 miles above Earth. This is going to happen very quickly here.
This view from Integrity as it crosses from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean, 3 minutes from entry interface.
It's honestly amazing. I don't actually remember with Artemis 1. I don't remember seeing these views on reentry. I could be wrong. That was back in, what was that, 2021, 2022 when Artemis 1 happened? It was a while ago. So I don't remember the exact feeds we got live, but it's crazy to see this view. It's a little stuttery, but it's a pretty like stable view of them coming back in for re-entry here, coming down from Orion. And it looks like NASA is just going to keep this screen up for as long as they can until they lose communications with Orion.
All of Integrity's systems are in great shape. The crew is ready to complete its mission just 15 and a half minutes from now. All of the activities today have gone off in
absolutely
fashion.
Insane view that we're getting right now.
No issues with the vehicle, no issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
I think just getting this live feed makes up for the SLS broadcast that we got, because I know a lot of people were upset with the quality of the footage of the launch from that live stream when Artemis 2 launched back on April 1st. in my opinion, this makes up for it. Getting an actual live view of right before reentry here.
Coming up on 1 minute until entry interface.
Looks like the footage is starting to get a little choppy there. I'm not seeing any plasma build up just yet.
Mark 1 minute until entry interface. 1 minute 20 seconds until the expected start of our 6-minute blackout.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6-minute blackout.
Integrity.
Ten seconds till entry interface.
Wow. Absolutely amazing views here. We are 67 miles above Earth's surface right now.
And
Coming
we have
in at
crossed the threshold,
25,000
now
miles
entering
per
the
hour.
Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time
Like
to
I was saying
splash
before,
down, 13 minutes, 10
I'm pretty
seconds.
sure these... Oh, here we go. Here's the plasma buildup. We'll see how long the feed holds here until we lose it. There was plasma buildup right there, though. You just saw it over the window. And I think we lost it
And
there.
as
There's our
predicted, we've
communications
entered our
blackout.
Communications blackout. This will be a 6-minute
And now we wait.
blackout period. No voice.
We
no
will have
data
no
from the crew.
information on the status of this unless we get some ground views. Maybe we got some cameras that are tracking it on reentry here. That's going to be the only way we know what is going
We're
on
30 seconds away
with
from the
reentry here,
anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle,
which is pretty
where
scary when you
temperatures,
lose
will
your telemetry due to the
rise
plasma
about
buildup and all
4 to
that.
5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory.
I know on Mars when we have the
And from the G5
I believe that's a view right there. There's a
aircraft
ground. Sorry,
in the
my
vicinity
thoughts
of the
are scattered all over the
splashdown
place right now.
zone, this
I believe
view
that's a ground view
of
of the reentry
integrity.
right there. They've got it. Exposure's turned way down. I don't know what kind of camera that is they're filming it with, but I think that's the Orion spacecraft they're tracking right there coming back in. But
first tug of gravity being felt by
like we were,
Integrity's
like they
astronauts
call it, I know
since
on
their launch
Mars,
back on April 1st.
when the rovers enter the atmosphere, they call it like the 7 minutes of terror or something like that when it enters the atmosphere, because you have that communications blackout. Once again, you don't really know what the status of the spacecraft is until it gets through the atmosphere and it reestablishes communication. And we're getting this. It's basically the same thing here. I want to call it the 7 minutes of terror, but obviously it's a negative term to use for something like this. We have a crew on board there, but it definitely gets the anxiety up a little bit for some people, especially those guys there in mission control, I'm sure.
The landing and support officer reports that the P-3 has acquisition on Integrity. Three and a half minutes left in this blackout period. This is a visualization of the plasma buildup around the spacecraft and the repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield.
There's our visualization of reentry happening.
Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds. Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on integrity. And the WB-57 flying in the splashdown zone also has a visual.
You're seeing that speed bleed off
And the Navy helos
really
also
quickly
have
now
visuals.
as well.
We're still in the blackout
I don't know if that's
period.
estimated velocity or if that is actually
Still
the
do
telemetry
not have
coming down, because
communications
they're
from
supposed
the
to be in the
crew.
communications blackout period. So I'm assuming that the telemetry we're seeing on screen is like the estimation of what it should be right now as they come back in.
We're standing by for communications from the crew. We should be out of the blackout period less than a minute from now. We are now processing data from integrity. Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone.
What is that? I think that's their graphic that's glitching out. I don't think that's an actual camera view there.
Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're
I
getting
better
intermittent views.
let's unmute and listen in
Of
here so I
integrity.
actually know when they get communications
Still
back.
waiting to establish voice
That is reentry right
communication.
there. Okay, so that is not a graphics glitch. That is just one of their infrared cameras that are filming the reentry. You see the
Integrity,
tail behind the
Houston.
spacecraft
Comm check,
there, the
post
plasma
blackout.
tail.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
They are
Your
right on track.
trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
Guidance looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home. Passing 100,000 feet now.
Oh, so we did get communications reestablished there.
Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
All right, so it looks like they've made it through the worst parts of reentry then there. Their infrared camera is grossly out of focus.
Integrity, impact to the camera controller fail is no Cab 1 views of the chutes.
There's the Orion spacecraft coming in hot.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS
They're
system.
just 6 miles
View
above
of
the Earth's
integrity,
surface.
Time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
1,500 miles an hour.
And a view of integrity from the WB-57.
There it is. The shape of it's starting to become
50,000
very
feet.
clear as it gets closer to the camera here. You can start the very obvious shape of the oh, there goes, looks like one of the aero covers off the Orion, getting ready for shoot deploy, or drogue shoots coming out.
The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison.
Let's get those shoots out, baby. Come on.
And there go the first series of parachutes. And we're on drogues.
There's our drogues. Drogues are out.
So we're visual 2
Or drogues may already be out. Those might be mains that have just popped. I'm pretty sure those are the drogue shoots, because drogue shoots pull the mains out after a certain distance. So
We see them.
drogues
Next up,
out,
the deployment
waiting
of
for main
pilot
deployment.
parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Let's get those mains out. Come on.
According to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Get the mains out. Get those mains out.
Passing through 10,000 feet. Still on drogues.
Where are the mains? Where are the mains? They look like they're getting really close to the ground. Here we go. Main shoots. Main shoots. Inflate.
Main chute deploy.
All 3 are out. I need them all 3. All 3 of them to inflate. Let's go, baby.
We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity.
There's 2, 3. All 3 main shoots are inflated.
Window.
We are under a safe, controlled descent down to the Pacific Ocean, everybody.
And we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
It'll be just a minute or so now. They're coming down pretty slow, but it should be just a minute or 2 here once they're back down in the ocean.
Integrity, cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Look at that infrared view.
Integrity copies.
Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
These are beautiful views of this coming down. Oh my gosh, man. The helicopter cam we're getting right now of this descent, I mean, this is gorgeous. I don't remember seeing any of these views. I could be wrong. I feel like our views were very limited with Artemis 1. The coverage we have gotten and the views we are getting for Artemis 2 are just beautiful. And I cannot wait for the future missions. Artemis 3 won't be as exciting, I know. Artemis 3 won't be as exciting because it's a low Earth orbit mission. But Artemis 4, when we get that moon landing, I am so excited for the views we are going to get, the camera feeds we're going to get. It's going to be amazing. Not sure how much longer we have until splashdown there.
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Looks like we're coming down through a cloud layer right now, so they're still pretty high up. But they are on a controlled descent. There's no crazy oscillations that I'm seeing or anything. All 3 shoots look really good. That looks so good, man. Oh my gosh. That is gorgeous.
Integrity splashdown, sending.
And there we have it, everyone.
Splashdown confirmed.
There is splashdown of the Artemis 2 crew coming back home from the moon. 4 astronauts just came back home from the moon after doing a flyby for the first time since 1972. That is absolutely phenomenal. This concludes their almost 10-day mission. And this is just the start, everybody. This is just the start. I am so excited for what is to come here. I mean, we're still far from. I mean, the mission is complete. They are splashed down. Mission complete. We've got the recovery crew that's going to be coming in now, though, and they're going to be getting the crew off the Artemis spacecraft and taking them back to. They have a boat not too far off from the landing site there, but I'm pretty sure they're going to come in with a helicopter and get them onto the helicopter, and then take them to the boat to bring them back to land. Or they'll go back to the boat temporarily, but then I think the helicopter will bring them back to land. But yeah, I'm just this is awesome. I'm so excited. This is by far the best part of this mission, is seeing the crew return safely home. The launch is cool. The launch looks cool and all that. SLS is a cool rocket. But seeing the crew return safely home is just the cherry on top of everything. I love. We got beautiful views. We got a little glimpse of re-entry as it began there before the communications blackout, and then we just saw splashdown right there.
And we're configuring for very low data rate. Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How else?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post-landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means.
Wow. This is just phenomenal.
1, upright. The crew module uprighting system
I
is being
am so
deployed.
stoked
The 5
by this.
airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle.
I'm so excited for what they have, for what NASA has to come with the Artemis program. This success, I'm hoping, is going to reignite. You know, you've got the public interest. Public interest is why this all happens, everyone. If the public had no interest in this happening, NASA would not be getting funding for these missions. The moon would not even be a conversation. And so seeing a successful mission here, seeing the images we've got back, I'm really hoping, I'm pretty sure it'll happen, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm really hoping that we're obviously going to recover the cameras from inside the Orion spacecraft. They're going to get the SD cards or the CF cards, whatever the media that they have inside the cameras in there. I'm pretty sure they're running on the CF Express cards. They're a little bit larger, more reliable than SD cards. But besides the point, they're going to retrieve the memory cards from the cameras, and I'm hoping that they're going to just dump the raw files. I want to see the raw files that they captured from these cameras of the moon, Earth, just the whole mission, all the raw files they got off these cameras. I want to see every single one. I want to download them and just admire them for all of their glory.
And there's a good view from one of the naval helicopters overhead.
This is just, I'm starting to be at like a loss of words. I'm just so excited for this. But like I said, this is just the beginning. We're going to get that public interest. We're going to release all the images that maybe haven't quite been seen yet, because NASA is only releasing small handfuls, because you can't just beam down all the raw files and stuff from 250,000 miles away.
Integrity Houston 4, SAR beacon and
so we're going to get all the original raw files off these cameras, release them. I'm hoping we are going to see so many more images from this mission released over the next couple of weeks as they retrieve the files and stuff and can
We see the
upload
beacon
them to the
on.
internet.
However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your
But yeah,
radio uses
this
the
is just the
same
start,
antenna,
everyone.
so you may
Artemis
run into
3 will
trouble
be
with the radio.
cool. We're going to see the Orion dock with the human landing system for the first time ever in low Earth orbit. And Artemis 4 is going to be even cooler because we're going to have boots on the moon again for the first time since the 1970s. And the imagery we're going to get back from the Artemis 4 is going to be even crazier.
Is in great shape, and as the crew continues its post-splashdown timelined activities,
I don't know what else to say, everyone. Like, it is going to be even crazier seeing images with boots on the moon, humans on the moon coming back, being sent back to us, and the live feeds we're going to get is going to be just insane.
The recovery team.
We got the HD video from the Blue Ghost lander that Firefly Aerospace launched back at the beginning of last year. And the views we got from that landing were absolutely insane. They weren't live streamed, but we got the images back. They were able to transmit the footage back after the landing happened. And just the quality of that footage was unreal. So I can only imagine how much better it's going to get for the Artemis missions with the human landing systems. Not sure how far out the recovery crew is from Orion. They're just kind of floating there. The waters look really good. They look really calm. They're not rocking them around or anything like that. So it looks really good from that part. I'm not sure how far out the recovery crews are, but they should be showing up here soon, I would hope, to get the 4 crew members on board the Orion spacecraft off.
It was, for all intents and purposes, a textbook mission.
On 2828, but I'll remain on this frequency.
We copy.
Reed Wiseman indicating some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board, but that's not an issue. What is more important is that the vehicle is solid. No issues as we begin the power down of the vehicle to begin the recovery process. The propulsion officer here in Mission Control reports that we have safed the prop system on integrity.
Can you say again that was very weak and broken?
Integrity, Houston did not call.
Copy that, Houston. It might have been on the SAR radio. Stand by.
All of the milestones were executed in perfect fashion. Integrity entering the Earth's atmosphere right on time, reaching its peak speed shortly after a blackout period began. We emerged from the blackout period, but the recovery imagery airborne assets were able to pick up Integrity's descent almost immediately through entry interface, tracking the vehicle all the way down. And finally, you saw the sequence of chute deployments. First, the forward bay cover being pulled off the top of the vehicle by a series of 3 parachutes. Then the drogue chutes were deployed, followed by the 3 main chutes that slowed the splashdown velocity of Integrity to just 19 miles an hour.
Integrity, Houston, with no joy on SAR and SAT phone, we'd like you to command an additional 15 minutes for a total of 30-minute power down delay.
All right, Jackie, we have selected T/D plus 30. No joy on SAR radio or SAT phone. And stand by, we have the master diver on SAR radio. Please hold comms.
Hey, Lily. Excuse me. Hey, Jackie, we just got the master diver on SAR.
Oh, there they are. There's the recovery crew.
A good view of one of the fast boats.
Integrity, Houston, if you are happy with your comm with master diver, you can go back to the 15-minute power down.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, we'll confirm here in a second.
The crew on board Integrity coordinating with the flight control team in Houston here.
There's our recovery crew there,
power down of the vehicle,
circling the Orion spacecraft.
To the recovery teams approaching the spacecraft. There are no issues with Integrity. We've had a bit of broken capability in establishing a SARSAT or satellite phone communications capability between the crew on board Integrity and the recovery team. That will get sorted out here shortly. There's plenty of cooling on board Integrity, so there's no rush to begin the power down.
To call you on the sat phone and not getting an answer there either.
Concur. We haven't had anything come through.
And Houston, if you could relay to recovery that we hear them, but it does not appear as though they are hearing us.
Houston copies, and Reed, just to confirm, you are pushing the PTT on the radio.
So as we continue to sort out the communications between Integrity and the recovery teams, we are standing by for the initiation of the power down procedures that, as you see, the recovery teams are moving towards the side of the capsule. The next major event will be the erection of that large inflatable raft called the
Got two recovery boats there approaching the Orion spacecraft.
Will be the port of call for the crew.
I think we're going to have one guy will jump onto the spacecraft itself and get the hatch opened up for the crew inside and help them egress from the vehicle. A much different recovery system from what the Crew Dragon does, where they actually like tow it back into a boat and lift it onto a boat before getting the crew out of the spacecraft. They're getting the crew, much like Apollo. Apollo, they actually like showed up with a helicopter and got the guys out of the spacecraft that way. So very similar to what Apollo does, where they're just going to get the crew out that way. And I don't know if there's a helicopter on standby, or if they're going to be shipped back over to the main ship with a boat, with the little boat they're on with the recovery crew, or how they're going to do it.
That you're touchdown plus 3030 for power, correct?
That's affirmative.
We are trying a backdoor approach to have mission control here call the crew on their satellite phone. This all part of the coordination for the power down of the vehicle. that will initiate the actual recovery operation. The first boats with the Navy divers on board are standing by, waiting to close in on Integrity to begin the process of erecting the large inflatable raft that's called the front porch that will be where the astronauts are extracted from so that they can have a few minutes to get their land legs back before they're hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters for the flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
Cannot reply.
And Houston, please don't reply. NRD, very weak, but readable. Master Diver, we can hear, but they cannot hear us. And Houston on OE1, is there any chance to tie us into NRD?
Checking.
This is Mission Control, Houston. While we stand by for the establishment of communications between Integrity and the recovery team that is basically standing by very close to the spacecraft, we're going to go to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha, where Megan Cruz is standing by with Administrator Jared Isaacman.
Hey, Rob, yeah, just such an honor to be able to be here on the ship, to be able to share and experience this moment with everyone together. And of course, as you just said, yes, here with NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Administrator, how did you feel getting to witness this and seeing NASA at its best?
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. I mean, you know, like the childhood Jared right now can't believe what I just saw. I mean, almost been waiting my whole lifetime to see this, and then it's NASA Administrator. I just couldn't be more proud of the entire workforce, the years, the effort, the late nights, all the hard work from across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And yeah, incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at the behind us here.
Got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh? Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis 2 crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis 3? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's, you know, part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis 3. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis 3 is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis 2, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, you know, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think, in the days leading up to this launch, I mean, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis 2, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone. We're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Administrator Isaacman. We are in the process of working to establish that communications link and to establish the procedures that will lead to the power down of the spacecraft, which is gently bobbing in the Pacific following a bullseye touchdown that occurred at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset in the Pacific southwest of San Diego. We have once again heard from the crew during that interview opportunity with the administrator, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board. We now have confirmation that the vehicle has been powered down as per the procedures. So we have vehicle powered down, and the flight control team here in Houston, Flight Director Rick Henfling, has handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems team out in the Pacific. Now, we will physically not get off console with this team until the crew has been extracted into the front porch, that inflatable raft that will be erected along the side hatch of Integrity. So we're standing by for that in the next step in the recovery procedures. But everything is in great shape, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board the vehicle. All of the entry events went by the book, no issues, perfect trajectory for Integrity that was culminated with one final raise burn to improve the angle of attack for the vehicle as it entered the Earth's atmosphere. All of that flight dynamics computation worked like a charm. So we are standing by for the recovery team to approach integrity and begin the process of erecting that inflatable raft called the front porch, which will see the crew members be extracted from the hatch of Orion into that inflatable raft before they're hoisted aboard two Navy helicopters in a variety of different configurations. Each crew member will be hoisted in sequential fashion, in alternating fashion, two crew members for each helicopter before they turn around to head back to the John P. Murtha. Once on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. But Reed Wiseman has reported several times that the crew is in excellent shape. So just to recap, it has been some 26 and a half minutes since the splashdown of integrity in the Pacific. The vehicle is in excellent shape. It performed like a champ all the way down through the Earth's atmosphere. All of the vehicle functions were checked off in excellent trip hammer fashion. The parachutes all deployed as planned. Splashdown occurring at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. And after a bit of a tussle to try to establish a communications link with the recovery team, we were finally able to run through the procedures for the powering down of the vehicle. We've handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks out in the Pacific, and the recovery team will be approaching the vehicle shortly to erect the inflatable raft called the front porch before opening the hatch to integrity to bring the crew members onto that raft before they're hoisted onto two Navy helicopters, two crew members for each helicopter, before they're flown back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. This is Mission Control Houston. After talking to the flight dynamics folks, we have a bit of a refinement on the splashdown time for you. Their computation shows a splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds. Once again, from Flight Dynamics, a splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds. Reports from the Pacific indicate that the recovery team, in communications with the crew aboard Integrity, that the crew remains in excellent shape as they await the approach of the team for a final hazard gas evaluation before they move to the side of the vehicle to erect the inflatable life raft called the front porch. Again, no issues with Integrity. The vehicle is powered down. All of its systems are now safed. We have handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks in the Pacific, but we will not stand down and have the entry flight control team depart its positions until that inflatable raft, the front porch, is erected, the hatch open, and the crew having exited the vehicle. So that's the next step in the recovery process that will lead to the hoisting of the crew members. For 2 crew members for each helicopter, they'll be hoisted to a pair of Navy helicopters that will then fly a short distance back to the USS John P. Murtha. What you're looking at is one of the fast boats circling the vehicle to make a hazard assessment. This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, you're watching the initiation of the recovery of the Artemis crew aboard Integrity. All of the Navy divers and the fast boats are now approaching the spacecraft after conducting a hazard assessment. The vehicle has been powered down. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling now waiting for the life raft, the front porch, to be erected along the side of the vehicle so that the hatch can be opened and the crew members extracted from Integrity, soon to be hoisted one by one into a pair of Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. If you missed it earlier, we talked to Flight Dynamics and received a more official touchdown time or splashdown time, as it were, of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds. Continuing to get excellent views from the imagery assets out at sea in the Pacific of Integrity. We continue to get good reports from the landing and support officer who's in contact with the recovery team that the crew is in excellent shape, no issues. They're just currently biding their time, waiting for the front porch to be erected. We have no hazardous hazard gases and no hazardous situation with the vehicle. It performed perfectly all the way down from entry interface to its splashdown in the Pacific at 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. And as you can see, the first phalanx of recovery personnel now pulling up alongside of Integrity. This includes Navy divers and Navy flight surgeon and other recovery personnel who have trained for several years for this recovery process. At this hour, some 41 minutes following splashdown, the vehicle has been powered down. There's no hazardous gas emanating from the vehicle. That's why the first team of recovery personnel has been able to pull alongside Integrity. And the reports continue to come in that the 4 astronauts are in excellent shape. Yes. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch the initiation of the recovery of Integrity's astronauts. One by one, they'll be brought out of the spacecraft onto a large inflatable raft just a short time from now. In the meantime, we can go back to the USS John P. Murtha, where my colleague Megan Cruz is standing by to provide her situation report. Megan, can you hear us?
Hey, Rob. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Yeah, we're back here on the bow of the recovery ship where there are still plenty of people peering out into the water. We are not very far from the action everyone is seeing on their screen now. The Orion spacecraft, Integrity, in the ocean, surrounded by a number of recovery boats. As Rob has been saying, in those recovery boats, NASA and Navy personnel specifically trained to get the astronauts out of Orion. In some of our wide shots, you can probably see that there are 6 boats out in the water. More than 40 people out in the water right now on those boats. first order of business is to set up the front porch and the stabilization collar. You might also hear it referred to as a stab collar. Basically just to make sure that Orion stays upright, doesn't sway in the water too much, again, to make it easier for recovery forces to get the astronauts out. Again, we splashed down in the Pacific Ocean just after 5 p.m. Pacific time here. It's a requirement by NASA to be able to get the crew out of Orion within 2 hours of splashdown. So doing great on time so far. Plenty of time. No rush either. I was speaking to NASA flight surgeon Rick Schuring earlier in this broadcast, and he said to me, no rush to get the crew out. Just want to make sure that they're feeling good, and whenever they're ready to take their step out of Orion and onto that large raft, the front porch, folks will be ready. And as there are mission audio loops in mission control in Houston, there is a mission audio loop here on the ship, and it was just reported out that the side hatch is open. Side hatch of integrity is open. You're getting these beautiful shots from our aerial assets. The ship itself, where I'm on, just 3,000 yards away. Again, plenty of people on the boat here, glued to the side closest to where they can see all this action. And again, with just 3,000 yards separating us, great views from the bow here. You can see now that side hatch is open. One of the Navy personnel is about to get inside there. In they go. In total, 4 will go into Orion. So it'll be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but the goal is to have a recovery personnel with each astronaut assessing them. Boats getting closer now. Again, that one that's right up against Orion, those are the divers that will go in to the spacecraft to check on each of the astronauts. These other boats will begin doing a number of things, putting on that stabilization collar onto Orion, building that front porch. Eventually, they will retrieve the parachutes, as well as tow Orion back to the well deck of the recovery ship here. And so as we wait for the Navy and NASA personnel to get their assessment of the crew inside of Orion, why don't we toss it back to Rob for an update?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Rick Henfling and the entry team of flight controllers still on duty. The vehicle has been powered down for some time now. There are no hazardous gases emanating from integrity. That, of course, allowed the recovery personnel to approach the vehicle and then open the hatch to begin the initial medical assessment of the crew, as you just indicated. Now we're standing by for the erection of that inflatable raft, the front porch, alongside of the vehicle that will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into two hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter, for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach to the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity, a mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last time that the Apollo program saw a splashdown in the Pacific was Apollo 17 back on December 19th, 1972. So for the first time in some 53 and a half years, we have reenacted that with the arrival of Integrity's astronauts as they flew around the moon in that historic lunar flyby that began with a trans-lunar injection burn that took them out of Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high Earth orbit trajectory. The high Earth orbit trajectory enabled flight controllers here to have a full 24 hours to evaluate the systems on Integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon. With the side hatch of Orion having been opened to set the stage for the erection of the inflatable life raft, known as the front porch, to be erected alongside the spacecraft for the extraction of the crew. Let's play for you an interview that my colleague Megan Cruz conducted on the USS John P. Murtha with Navy diver First Class David McMahon that explains how this process is unfolding.
Okay, Davey, so you and some of your team, one last look over of the stabilization collar, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is this stabilization collar?
This is what's going to stabilize the capsule out there in the ocean. We don't know how good the weather or the waves will be that day, so this will help prevent any unnecessary occurrences from happening, stabilizing the capsule and the astronauts inside.
So basically this is a float that will go around Orion. I'm assuming that what they're doing right now, these are the lines that will attach the collar onto Orion?
That is correct.
And so what are they doing here?
So we've got the lower line that will secure the inflation device before we inflate it. That gives us the go-ahead that it's secure in its space, and then we'll inflate it, and then once that is done, we'll undo all the carabiners and get this orange line on top tied in the same fashion, and then this will be secured to the capsule, and the astronauts can safely take their first steps out of the capsule onto the front porch.
Okay, and how long will it take them to set up the stabilization collar?
We should definitely be able to handle this in under 10 minutes.
Okay, wow. And then you just mentioned the front porch. So basically after they set up the stabilization collar, then they set up what's called the front porch here.
That's correct.
Okay, and what's the front porch?
Front porch is basically a bigger waiting room for the astronauts to sit in while we wait for the helicopters to show up and grab them.
Okay, so the medical team that was inside with the crew, they're going to help them out and onto the front porch?
That is correct.
And then what happens here?
We have higher trained medical personnel also on board the front porch that will give them lookovers and just make sure they're okay while we wait for the helicopters to show up.
Okay. How does it feel, I mean, your team, you, to be part of a mission that's returning astronauts from the moon in more than 50 years?
We all feel extremely honored to be a part of this, as well as a bigger mission for the Navy and joining up with NASA to do great things.
And do you feel like you and your team are ready?
Yes, very ready.
Cool. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Once again, the recovery operations are continuing out in the Pacific. We shortly should see that life raft, the front porch, erected alongside the side hatch of the vehicle. A number of flight controllers have come into the flight control room to receive congratulations from Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling. But we're going to stick with our operations out in the Pacific as we await the extraction of the 4 crew members who are reported to be in excellent condition. Again, while we stand by for that front porch to be erected alongside of the side hatch of the vehicle, let's go back to the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan?
Hey, Rob. Pausing now to listen to some internal audio loops. Again, the operations team here on the ship communicating with everyone out on the water. It seems like currents are hindering them a little bit from unfurling and inflating the stabilization collar as well as the front porch. But again, the requirement to get the crew out within 2 hours of splashdown, plenty of time. So no concerns just yet. But as calm as the water looks, yeah, it looks like it's hindering the teams just a tad. You You can see in some of our shots that side hatch still open. Again, inside there are now 8 people inside. 4 divers, Navy divers, all with medical training, each assigned to an astronaut each. Making sure that they're comfortable, feeling good. As you've heard us say in the broadcast, they expect a little bit of discomfort. Again, these astronauts just traveled back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour, a nearly 695,000-mile journey around the moon. If you think you get car sick. Again, 6 boats out there, lots of gear with them, just in case, right? As we said, the crew reported feeling great, but again, all those folks out there in case they weren't, right? NASA is all about making sure we think about every situation that can happen, and so of course wanted to be ready in case any of our astronauts needed more medical attention while out there in the water. You see now teams again trying to set up the stabilization collar and front porch for the crew to get out of Orion. They need both, right? The stabilization collar will keep Orion from swaying as you see it is doing now. And then they will connect the front porch to the stabilization collar so that the crew can take 2 steps and they will be in the front porch. Not a lot of chatter on the mission audio loops. That's a good thing. Again, things proceeding pretty nominally, even if they're fighting some currents out there on the Pacific Ocean. Again, the goal, setting up the stabilization collar and the front porch so that the crew can rest comfortably in the front porch, get placed into harnesses so that 2 helicopters can lift them off the front porch and onto the USS John Murtha here. The helicopters are going to take turns picking up an astronaut. So again, Helo 1 and Helo 2. Okay, and the recovery team here on the ship just got a report from the undersea medical officer who is inside the capsule with the crew. He is reporting all 4 members are green. All of our 4 astronauts, Reed, Victor, Christina, Jeremy, green, meaning they are feeling great, not the complexion of their skin. They are feeling great, happy to be home, and ready to be extracted as soon as possible. And so, as I was saying, we have 2 helicopters circling the activity you're seeing on the water right now. Each will take turns picking up an astronaut. So Helo 1 will come on in, hover above the front porch, about 40 feet above the front porch. A Navy recovery specialist will be hoisted down into the front porch.
The restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
Will connect to the first astronaut, which we're expecting to be Christina. And then Helo 2 comes around, picks up Jeremy, while Helo 1 stays above head, and then Helo 1 will come back in for another astronaut, and then Helo 2 for the last astronaut, and then back to the flight deck here on the recovery ship. I was talking to Assistant Artemis Recovery Director Paul Sierpinski. He said helos are a much quicker, safer way to get on board. They did actually consider boats, but then if you think about it, longer time, the crew would have to move through more of the ship. This way the helos will give a more direct, quicker route to the medical bay for our 4 astronauts. Beautiful shots from our aerial and imagery teams. Clouds have dissipated for a clear view from the bow of the recovery ship here. You can still see divers in the water there. Encircling Orion, that is that stabilization collar we've been telling you about. As you saw in that interview just a few minutes ago, they have to first connect it to Orion, and then once it's secured onto Orion, they can inflate it, and then they'll further secure it with other harnesses and lines. About an hour and 10 minutes since splashdown in the Pacific Ocean here. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back home after a history-making mission to the moon and back. And if you missed what we said just a couple of minutes ago, the undersea medical officer inside with the crew in Orion reporting all 4 crew members feeling great. Progress being made there on the stabilization collar. It looks like they are beginning to inflate it. And it looks like they're starting to unfold the front porch in order to get that into the water here shortly and inflate that as well. Again, more than 40 people out in the water right now. And those Navy and NASA personnel have been in the water for now about 4 hours. The reason why they had to get out so early is just to stage everything. And actually here on the ship, when there are flight operations happening, you can't have anything else, right? Just because the flight deck can be a dangerous place, so they just want to focus on planes coming and going from the ship, so that's why they wanted to get the boats in the water to make sure that they have all the time they needed for the flight ops. And then the same crew here out in the water, they will stay out in the water for a number of hours after we recover the crew and get them back on the ship, because then they have to recover Orion. All right, that stabilization collar looking good around Orion. We're now seeing some recovery personnel getting on to that collar. Again, they need to further attach it to Orion to make sure that it can really prop up the spacecraft. It's basically lifting it up off of the water just a tad. Again, so it's not so so it doesn't sway so much in the water there. And now that front porch looks like it's nearly fully inflated as well. You can see a much larger surface area. And so once the crew get out of Orion, they can stretch their legs a little bit on this front porch, get some fresh air. And enjoy this beautiful day here on their home planet. It appears teams now are about to connect the front porch to the stabilization collar. And at that point, when both are secure, we should soon see astronauts come out of Orion. All these views you see also being fed to the landing force.
All right. Hello again, everyone. I decided to step away for a brief moment to eat some dinner because I didn't know how long this was going to run. I didn't realize how long recovery operations and stuff took for this. I assumed it was going to be like a real quick, like get in there, open the hatch, and hoist them out of there. But there's a couple more steps to it here with the stabilization of the craft. You can see they've got the flotation devices. There's a collar they put around the spacecraft. That's kind of it hoists the spacecraft up out of the water a little bit, and it and I gotta mute that. It hoists the spacecraft up out of the water a little bit, stabilizes it a bit more in the waters as the waves kind of toss them around. And then they're also installing a second flotation device. They're attaching that to the collar, which is nicknamed the front porch, which is the thing that the astronauts will climb out into and sit in while the Navy helicopters come in and hoist them up out to give them an airlift back to the ship, which is not super far away, but it's not like right there. And so it should be happening here very soon. They've got the collar secured around it. They're attaching the front porch right now. So as soon as the front porch is secure and good to go, we should see those astronauts start to egress out of the spacecraft, and we'll start seeing those helicopters come down. And they said they're going to be hoisted up one by one.
Thumbs up
So we'll see one astronaut come out,
from one of the personnel in the front porch.
and then we'll
looks like they are now getting
we'll see one astronaut come out.
to
We'll see them get hoisted up, airlifted up into the helicopter, and then we'll see the next one come out, and so on and so forth. And then after that, we'll hopefully get. I'm assuming they're all being lifted into the same helicopter. And so after we get all 4 of them lifted up into the helicopter, they will then be.
in order to be hoisted into the helicopters. Again, those helicopters.
They will then be
just about 40 feet above the front
flown
porch
back
when
to
they're
the
ready.
Navy ship, which is nearby, for them to be
pick up
dropped
each
off,
command.
and there'll probably be some interviews and stuff. They're gonna ask them some questions while they're once they get back. At least I think that might be how it happens. There'll be some waving and stuff, because obviously they haven't been gone as long as an ISS, as long as an International Space Station crew has been gone. So they're probably a little okay, but there's still going to be some adaptation. Them coming back down to Earth and getting themselves reacquainted to Earth's gravity. So I don't know if they'll be up on their feet right away once they get back to the ship, but we will see. Got a nice close-up shot here. I don't think you'll be able to tell which astronaut is which. The commentary, they might say which astronaut's coming out at each time, but I'm not sure what order they're going in. And the camera view is so far away, because of their suits, it's going to be hard to tell who is coming out of the spacecraft. Unless they have like their helmets taken off or something, which I doubt they have their helmets taken off. You might be able to tell a little bit easier who's who if their helmets are off. But it looks like that front porch is attached. Everything's floating. Like I was saying earlier, the waters are remarkably good today. Not super, not large waves or anything like that. Super calm seas. So could not ask for better recovery conditions.
Of STS-135, although that was the end of a program, this is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for Integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says "Welcome Home Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth." So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha. Once again here in Mission Control, this view of the Artemis Flight Control Room, known as the White Flight Control Room. This is the old Shuttle Flight Control Room, and now is the home of Artemis missions to the moon and beyond. Once again, quite a few flight controllers were invited in by Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling to share in the jubilation following the successful splashdown of Integrity. That splashdown occurring an hour and 22 minutes ago, as we stand by for the completion of the extraction of the crew, and ultimately they're hoisting onto Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the USS John P. Murtha. Splashdown occurred at 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. I had an opportunity to talk to the head of flight dynamics, Jeff Birch, a moment or two ago. He said the trajectory of Integrity coming through the Earth's atmosphere was so precise, they've never seen anything line up on a ground track like today's entry by Integrity for its splashdown southwest of San Diego. And the initial, you can hear it. Jubilation here in the flight control room. The first crew member is out of Integrity.
We have one astronaut out of the Orion spacecraft. Looks like that is Christina. They do have their helmets off. I can confirm their helmets are off there. That looks like that is Christina Cook that is out of the spacecraft. She was the first one out. Looks like Victor Glover was out next there. Or in fact, that may not be Christina. That might be Reed. That may be Reed Wiseman because they got Glover out next. Unless, because of where the seats are at, they're getting the two people on the side closest to the door first, and they're getting out the other two guys. That could be Christina and Glover because they were both on the right-hand side, and that hatch might be on the right-hand side of the spacecraft, depending on the orientation you're looking at it.
2 crew members out, 2 to go.
So you got Christina and Glover are out. Or Christina Cook and Victor Glover are both out of the spacecraft. And it looks like, are we going to get our third guy here in a second?
We're about 1 hour from
looks like they're going to get these first two guys.
Everything continues to go well.
Might be getting the first two guys hoisted up, and then they'll get the other two guys out.
During its entry back to Earth.
I should say the first guy and gal hoisted up first, and then we'll get the other two guys that are in the spacecraft out and hoist them up as well.
Were feeling very well. Crew member number 3 now out. And now standing by for the commander, Reed Wiseman, who will be last out of his ship.
And that is another thing, too, to mention. While I was kind of out on my...
Integrity spanned 694,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown.
While I was kind of out on my brief hiatus there, they did have... There was a medical guy that got into the spacecraft with each of the 4 astronauts just to check them out while they were still in their seats. And all 4 crew are in really good condition. So that's a good thing to know. There's no urgency or anything about getting them out of the spacecraft and onto the ship where they can get proper medical care or anything like that. So all good things coming out of this mission following splashdown.
And we now
looks like they've got Reed Weiss out of there. Reed Wiseman?
4 crew members now out of Integrity.
Why can't I ever remember this guy's last name? It's Wiseman. Why did I say Weiss? Reed Wiseman is out of the spacecraft now. I see 3 of them. It looks like 4 is coming out right now. And so they got all 4 out first, and then we'll see them get lifted up into the helicopters. I hope we get. Oh, there's a photographer right there. I don't know if there's a guy with a camera sitting there on the front porch with them. But if we can, it'd be a really cool photo to get the 4 of the astronauts sitting next to each other there on the porch as they got out, as they egress out of the spacecraft.
All 4 crew members now on the front
That'd be some cool photos to see afterwards.
And the procedure to begin hoisting them up to these 2 Navy helicopters hovering overhead will begin shortly.
It's pretty low resolution, but it looks like we have all 4 heads out of the out of the Orion spacecraft. All 4 astronauts have egress from the spacecraft, and they're just waiting for their lift out of the front porch and back onto the helicopter, where they can then be transported back to the Navy ship. A very cool operation to see. They have filmed this entire thing. Remarkable quality for today's recovery stream compared to the launch we got on April 1st. A lot of cameras cutting out and stuff during the launch. Today, it's been like flawless. Like, cameras have been super smooth, not really dropping out with signal or anything like that. Super cool to see this recovery operation. Oh, look, there's our close-up of the 4 astronauts sitting down there. That's really cool to see. And I want to say, too, Orion looks like it is in remarkably good condition as well. Obviously, can't see the heat shield because it's in the water, but at a glance, Orion looks like it's in really good condition after re-entry. But,
this is Mission Control Houston.
What was I saying? I've lost my train of thought again. I keep getting sidetracked by all the cool things happening. Yeah, no, the recovery operation, really cool to see everything take place here. Seeing the guys egress out of the spacecraft, and they're getting ready to be brought back to the Navy ship, and then they're going to be brought home after that. Probably be expecting them to be, I don't know if, I think there's a, there might be a brief quarantine period after this. And we should expect a press conference with all 4 astronauts here in the coming days. I don't think it'll be as long of a quarantine as we saw for the actual, for all the Apollo missions that actually landed on the moon. I know there was a long quarantine for that because there was like all these concerns like, well, what if we brought back a disease from the moon, guys? And I don't know if that would happen because there's not really like living things. Like, I don't think bacteria can survive on the moon's surface, but that's besides the point. But yeah, there'll be a brief quarantine period most likely, just to check them out and make sure that they're good. And hopefully we'll see a press conference here in the coming days with the 4 astronauts talking about their experiences and what they saw and stuff. It'll be really cool to get their perspective on everything for the first time since they left Earth 10 days ago.
This is Mission Control Houston here in the Artemis Flight Control Room. A number of flight controllers basking in the glory of the successful end of this mission that carried 4 astronauts around the moon on a lunar flyby, and the first test flight of Orion with crew members on board. Splashdown occurring an hour and 32 minutes ago after a flawless descent back into the Earth's atmosphere for the vehicle. Its 4 crew members in good shape, simply enjoying their time right now on the front porch, as it were, the inflatable raft alongside of their Integrity spacecraft. We're expecting Ahmed Shathria, the NASA Associate Administrator, to join us here momentarily for a brief interview before we turn it back over to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, the recovery ship. This is Mission Control Houston. We're about an hour and 34 minutes since the textbook splashdown of integrity in the Pacific to bring home our astronauts. And with us now is Ahmed Shathria, the NASA Associate Administrator. Ahmed, a little bit of history made tonight, a little bit of history made over the past few weeks.
You can see the front porch is starting to float away from the spacecraft, probably to give them some clearance with the lifting operations, hoisting them up, each of them up onto the helicopter, giving them some distance from the spacecraft for that.
Houston, as well as engineering and folks that just want to
It's kind of funny to watch them just float away, though.
Our crew get extracted from the vehicle, and my thought is always about these teams. The team that's in the water right now, pulling the crew out. The team here in Houston that worked so hard over the last 10 days, no sleep to get this done. We still have some work to do to get the crew to the med bay here on the ship. They all look great coming out, so hopefully that won't be too long. I think we saw the administrator on the boat too, giving his thanks to the Navy team on the Murtha, which they're just an incredible group of sailors. I was able to visit with them a couple weeks ago, and then if you pull it all the way back to the workers and the folks that joined the rocket at Michoud, that made the heat shield tiles that held together tonight, that stacked the vehicle in Florida, that integrated the vehicle in Denver, that fired the engines in Stennis, that fired the boosters in Promontory. I mean, this is the entire team coming together and being tested by the environment that this machine went through, and they did it right. The work was good. They did it right.
You've said in a number of briefings, of course, and in other forums that this is just the first step. The cadence has to step up, as the administrator has indicated. Now, it's a little early for the full report card on how integrity did, but did this mission ultimately, from your eyes' view, exceed expectations?
It absolutely did. I mean, I was waiting to talk about this until we're in the water, and I think we still have, again, work to do to bring it in and really kind of go through it bolt by bolt and see what we learned. But I mean, so far, given what we learned during the mission and given how we performed on ascent, on entry, I always think about energy in terms of the states that you worry about the most, and every time we put these machines through these incredibly energetic states that came through. So I'm fairly confident that we made a big step tonight to get us on the path towards the surface. I think the path to the surface is open now. We do have to do all the work, and we'll make sure we talk about that as cleanly as we can. We learned a few things during the mission, but I have to tell you, this was an incredible test of an incredible machine.
From an American psyche standpoint, the Empire State Building was lit up red, white, and blue tonight. Our coverage was seen on baseball stadiums around the major leagues. how captivating was this experience for the American people, for the world, in fact, as we returned to the moon?
You know, I have not been able to watch a lot of the coverage as we've progressed through the mission. I will tell you, just from my witness in Florida before launch, and then seeing the people's faces here, and then reading where I can about how things are going. I think this has been a gift to the world from NASA. NASA has given the world a gift, proving to folks all over the place, especially young people, and that to me is what this is really about. Young people, when they see what we can do when we work together, when we have teams that collaborate, that it doesn't matter how hard the problems are, we can solve them. I'm hopeful that Artemis 2, as folks witness what we were able to do with this incredible crew, this incredible team that we've birthed into the world, scientists and engineers and artists that have been inspired by this. And even if they don't come work in the program, which separately they should come work in the program because Lord knows we need the help, but even if they don't want to come work in the program, hopefully they grow up to recognize they can do amazing things when they work together and contribute to society and be good citizens and really change the way, the challenges that are coming in the world are overcomable if we work together like this.
And one final question. Flying to the moon, we did it. We've done it again this past week and a half or so. But the engineering that went behind the design of this mission and the precision, the pinpoint precision of this vehicle entering that entry corridor, it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is incredible when you think about the energies involved and the uncertainties involved. That when we inserted the vehicle into orbit, it was 99.2% down the middle. When we dropped the vehicle right on top of the fleet here, our guys knew exactly where to go, but the guidance was perfect. And it's interesting. I've got this question a lot over the last few weeks about, we did this before 53 years ago, and that I think it is a reasonable thing to contemplate. Like what
Here comes the helicopter.
What I tell you is
coming in for their airlift.
When we did Apollo, which again, the more we learn about what they did, the more magical it seems what they were able to accomplish given the technology and the learnings that they had. But when we did Apollo, the architects of Apollo, Gilbert, Seaman, von Braun, Mueller,
that's a cool thing to see right there. Check that out.
To do, as they were contemplating what it meant
Our
to
first
expand our
lunar
reach of action
crew
to the lunar
since
surface,
the
what they wanted to do
1970s
was
being
learn
recovered
how to
from the
live and work in
Pacific
space for a
Ocean
long time.
just off the coast
They
of
wanted to
San
do that
Diego,
first before they
California.
were confident they could expand their range of action to the moon. Now, of course, the politics of the time and the mission at the time was different, and so they had to go straight to the moon and bring people home. And then after that, the program kind of lost its momentum. But after that, NASA kept moving along those paths, right? So we recognized during Apollo that reusability was going to be important. We spent a lot of money on those machines, and we spent a lot of money on these machines here. But we recognized that reusability was important, which is why we built a winged space plane called Space Shuttle, and then we used that reusable machine to build a space station. And we learned for 25 years how to live and work in space, and have been able to develop technologies that can enable exploration. So really, what I think is now, 53 years later, we're at the point where the architects of Apollo would have been pleased that we're now ready to actually go back to the moon and go back to stay, because we've learned all the things we needed to learn.
There's a lot of people pleased here tonight, and we really thank you for joining us, Amit. Amit Kshatriya, NASA's Associate Administrator, as we
all right, looks like we got the first guy going up.
Helicopters to head back to the recovery ship.
Can't tell.
Thank you very much.
That might be Christina going up first. Super cool view of them getting lifted up.
This is Mission Control Houston, with the crew members now beginning to be hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters. Let's go to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, who will take it from here.
Hey, Rob, yeah, back on the
All right, we got one
bow
crew
of the
member on
ship
board.
here, we are seeing the helicopters circling Orion. The first one there, having just completed picking up the first astronaut.
Coming in for number 2.
Kilo 2 now, hovering just 40 feet above the front porch, lowering a a recovery specialist out of the helicopter. That person will touch down in the front porch just there. The crew members already outfitted with a harness that will allow them to quickly attach to the hoisting device. Look at the power of those blades throwing water out at the center there, the front porch, with now 3 astronauts and the recovery specialists. Again, crews already outfitted with a harness vest.
There goes astronaut number 2, I believe.
And here we go. Second astronaut now off the front porch.
Pretty sure that was the second one. I don't think I saw the second one. Yeah, there's still 2 more down there. Astronaut number 2 is up in the air.
That helicopter will now hover just a distance away to give room for the first helicopter to come back and pick up the 3rd astronaut.
Here comes the helicopter back in for number
As we
3.
wait for that helicopter to come back, make its way back around. Just want to mention that the President of the United States called our NASA administrator today while he was on the ship, just minutes after we interviewed him live on our coverage, and congratulated him and NASA on this history-making moment tonight. Helicopter 1 again hovering 40 feet over the front porch. We will soon see another recovery specialist getting lowered onto the front porch. Wow, imagine sitting on that front porch, the wind, the water. But again, the recovery team determined that a helicopter flight back to the ship here would be safer, faster, and more comfortable for our crew who just completed a 10-day mission around the moon. 3rd astronaut in the air, getting hoisted quickly back into the 1st helicopter now.
There went number 3.
That 1st helicopter now on its way back to the ship here. We will soon see it land in just
Helicopter
a few
should be
minutes.
coming back around
Again,
for
all
number
this action
4
happening
here in just a moment.
3,000 yards away from us, so a very quick flight back to the flight deck. And now the only person left on the front porch, Commander Reed Wiseman. That 2nd helicopter now making its way back over to the front porch. Here it comes.
All right. Hooking up
Making
astronaut
final
number
approach here.
4 to that harness. I can't tell if that is... Looks like it's either Jeremy or Reed, one of the 2 there. Yeah, it was just Reed Wiseman. Yeah. Reed being lifted up into the helicopter there. I think he's going onto the same chopper as Christina's on.
The last astronaut, Commander Reed Wiseman.
And there goes the
Now
final
off the front
astronaut
porch and almost
on their way
to the
back to the
2nd
Navy ship that is
helicopter.
stationed just a
Both
little
now
bit a
on their way
ways
back
from
to
the landing
ship,
site.
Where we are, the USS John P. Murtha, just west of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean. Exciting to see our 4 crew members minutes away from landing on the flight deck here on the recovery ship. 550 people on this ship, excited, ready, anxious, looking forward to welcoming this crew aboard.
Cool tracking shot as they follow the helicopter back.
Watching them now with our own eyes. Close to the ship here. Hearing them begin to hover on the flight deck, which is just across from us, here on the bow. The first helicopter coming in.
All right, here they come. Looks like one helicopter already landed there. I didn't even see the first one land there. They must have flown off there after they, because I think each helicopter has 2 astronauts on board, and so first helicopter must have taken off after they got there too, and then since they just picked up Reed, they took off as soon as they got Reed.
And wheels down.
So we've got
Wheels down of the first helicopter.
both helicopters landed back on the ship now.
Pilot Victor
We
Glover
should get our first up-close view here in just a moment of the astronauts coming off of those helicopters.
Kilo 1 on deck reported on the recovery loop. Again, the mission audio loops that the recovery team are using here to communicate with one another. And an announcement just made on the ship, integrity incoming. 2 more helicopters on their way to the flight deck, one carrying the crew, the other, one of our imagery helicopters. Again, kudos to our imagery and aerial teams for giving us these beautiful views of history in the making. Set amid a gorgeous, soon-to-be sunset here in the Pacific Ocean. Second helicopter. Making its approach of the flight deck. Plenty of people here on the bow with their cell phones out, filming this moment. Some impressive flying here by the Navy, as we are seconds away from wheels down. And there you go. We now have all 4 Artemis II crew members on the USS John P. Murtha. I'm sure they're happy to be out of the water and on this recovery ship with, again, 550 people on board.
All right, here they come out of the
to welcome them home.
The crews are starting to prep the astronauts to get them out of the helicopter now.
As we've been saying throughout the broadcast, just making sure the crew feel good. We reported that they were feeling good when they were in Orion, but those were just initial, quick, verbal assessments of how they're feeling. Their destination tonight, the medical bay here on the ship, right after we power down the helicopters here. The team on the flight deck working quickly but methodically. Waiting for just one more helicopter to touch down. Very limited personnel here on the flight deck.
Restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
As that third helicopter touches down.
The ship is at flight quarters. Stand clear of weather decks, aft of frame 095. Burn no cover stop side. Throw no articles over the side. Hold all trash and garbage on station. Flight quarters.
While just a few folks on the flight deck itself, there are plenty more on some upper decks. I see in some of our views a very packed crowd overhead. Announcements being made over the ship's loudspeaker system, reminding folks to stay clear of operational areas like the flight deck, so that teams can work quickly to get the crew off of the helicopters and into the medical bay. Splashdown today, 5:06 p.m. Pacific time. We are within 2 hours of that splashdown time, and already we have all 4 crew members on the flight deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Again, crew waiting before getting out for the helicopters to completely shut down. Safety, of course, very important to NASA and the U.S. military. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes here before we start seeing crew members walk off the helicopters one by one.
All 4 helicopters have shut down, and they are now going to begin the process of getting the astronauts out of the helicopters. And here they come. There are our first 2. Hard to see who is who.
All right, and now here we see pilot Victor Glover.
That looks like possibly Victor Glover.
And mission specialist Christina Cook. Sitting on
This
the edge
resolution is kind of
one of the
kind
helicopters,
it's kind of
looking
bad.
in great spirits.
At least on the small screen I'm viewing it on.
Familiar smile and
Like I
laugh
said,
from
I need
Victor.
to
can
get
see
bigger
it from
monitors
here.
at some point
Christina,
here.
I'm sure feeling the same way, just blocked a little bit by our camera here, but we'll see her here shortly. A photographer taking their pictures. Victor saluting folks on the flight deck. They look like they're in great spirits. Happy to be home, I'm sure. If you're sitting at home, I hope you too are wondering, what would you want to ask them if you got a chance to talk to them, because that is what I'm thinking about. Getting the opportunity to talk to or ask questions of these 4 astronauts who just made history as the first crew to return to the moon since 1972. Oh, there we see Christina there, also smiling, finally peering out, waving at the cameras. Hello to you too, Christina, yes. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home. A loudspeaker announcement on the ship saying, "Welcome home, Integrity." Victor in great spirits. I can't see who he's talking to, but I kind of think that he might be talking to his other two crew members. Shouting from across the flight deck, congratulations to one another.
Victor Glover and Christina Cook
So now we see some
chilling out there.
Navy personnel walking up to the helicopter.
Chilling out there on the
This is again
helicopter.
the first helicopter
Looks like their legs are
carrying
pretty good. I don't know if
Victor
they're going to try and
Glover
walk or not,
and mission
but looks
specialist
like
Christina
they're
Cook.
pretty well acclimated back to
Both have
everything.
taken off their helmets now. Some pictures, video to catalog this historic moment. A beautiful sunset just behind them here in the Pacific Ocean. Golden hour. These pictures will be beautiful. Now we see NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. He is on the flight deck, as well as Flight Surgeon Rick Schuring walking over to Victor and Christina first. We saw the administrator walk over to the other helicopter, which is carrying Commander Reed Weissman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. We heard from Rick earlier in the broadcast. Again, he said he's going to be out there on the flight deck to do another initial assessment of the crew, ask them how they're feeling, anything bothering them. But again, from what I'm seeing, they look like they're in great spirits and feeling pretty good for folks who just traveled 695,000 miles from Florida to the moon and now here to the Pacific Ocean. We're now seeing NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman walking across the flight deck. He had been talking to Reed and Jeremy, now approaching Victor and Christina. A hug from Victor, a hug from Christina. What a moment that we're getting to experience together. I'm sure congratulatory words. You know, we got to speak to the administrator live on this broadcast as well, and he said the kid in him right now, giddy, absolutely giddy at what we were able to accomplish today. Returning them home safely and in good spirits after a 10-day mission around the moon. And here we go. We're seeing Jeremy walking, waving across the flight deck, now on his way to the medical bay. It's a short walk, less than a minute. Again, that's why the recovery team decided to use helicopters to get them on the flight deck for that short walk to medical bay. And now on the flight deck, we see the chief of the astronaut office, Scott Tingle. Rick Schuring switching places. He's going over to the other helicopter. Big
They're
hugs,
walking.
big
They're
hugs
walking.
From Victor,
They
Christina.
have a little bit of support, but it looks like they are walking pretty well on their own.
Scott.
Really cool. Really cool to see.
Again, a gorgeous sunset setting the stage for this recovery tonight. All right. And now here we are, Christina. Making her way, looking thankful, grateful, happy to be home.
Yeah, it looks like all 4 astronauts are walking super well on their own. Which, like I was saying, they were only up there for about 10 days, so not a whole lot of time for their like muscle mass to degrade or anything like that. So they're doing pretty good. Getting pretty well acclimated pretty quickly.
Scott holding the door like a gentleman, but back on his way to the other crew still on the flight deck.
They are all being walked into the medical bay, though, on the ship to get checked out. And then after that, I'm not sure what happens after the medical bay. I mean, I know they're going to be flown back. We'll probably be flown back to California
Victor Glover
tonight, and then I don't know if they'll be flown back to Florida overnight or if they'll hang out in California for a bit before going back to Florida, or how that'll work.
Headed to medical bay.
I don't know if they've talked much about that yet.
More hugs, more hugs. He's a hugger. Victor looking good as he walks across the flight deck. NASA administrator applauding. Victor applauding for all the folks on the ship with him who played a role in their safe return today. And finally, just one Artemis II crew member left on the flight deck, Commander Reed Weissman. Applause from the group there on the flight deck, I'm sure, as well as on the level just above them, packed with people. Reed looking good as he takes his steps towards the medical bay. See our 4 Artemis II crew members back on the ship. Again, now they will head into medical bay, where they will be assessed by flight surgeons from both NASA as well as the Canadian Space Agency. A more in-depth assessment. When they get to medical bay, they will each have their own nurse. They will be helped out of their suits. And then again, we'll check to see that they're feeling good. Make sure it's not just adrenaline, but that they are feeling good from their long journey back from the moon. Beautiful shot of that sunset, illuminating our flight deck. All right, and now with our astronauts safely on board, I want to welcome on Artemis Recovery Director Lily Villarreal. Lily, I don't know how you must be feeling right now. Ecstatic, relieved?
So ecstatic, relieved. Of course, we still have to bring the capsule into the well deck of the ship, but this is a major milestone to have the crew here on the ship and in medbay. You know, our team has been preparing and working really hard, and I'm just so proud of them all. Everything went very well, just as planned. Our teammates in Houston, the flight control team was just amazing. We were able to have great conversations and communications about everything. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just so ecstatic. It's such a wonderful feeling to get to this point. Again, we still have to get the capsule, but this is huge for all of us in landing recovery, and I couldn't do this without my team, and of course the full support of the U.S. military. There's going to be lots of high fives when we get the capsule back in, and I'm so happy that the crew's doing well, Orion's doing well, and thank you for for everybody watching.
Yeah, it was great to watch the crew come back to the ship with you. How were you feeling when you were seeing them looking so happy to be home and feeling really good?
The funny thing is that we had video of them from inside the Orion vehicle. They were like that from the beginning. When we opened the hatch, they were already out of their seats, having a good time, waiting for us to open the hatch. And they opened the hatch, and of course we did the first medical assessment. Everybody was doing very well, and they were just having such a great time with the medical team that was inside the capsule. I think they were all taking selfies with the phones that they have, probably talking about what they saw, and it was just smiles all around. They were having such a great time. And then we put them on the front porch when we were ready to put them on the front porch. And again, you could see they were just so ecstatic to be home and talking to everybody. So we were very happy to see all of that in the control room of the LFOC.
How remarkable is that? Again, if we think about their journey, the 695,000-mile journey around the moon and back, coming back at 30 times faster than the speed of sound. I mean, how remarkable is that they are in such good spirits?
I mean, this is an amazing crew. I think you guys have seen it for the past 10 days. They're wonderful people, and we're so happy that they brought us along on that ride. And I can't wait to see all the additional videos and pictures that they have that, we'll get a hold of now that they're back on the ground. And I can't wait to hear how, a little more than what we saw on the press briefings from the crew about what they saw. It's just fantastic. Some of my favorite people around this 10 days was the science team and how excited they were. And so this is exactly how we feel in the landing recovery team when the science team went, oh my goodness, when they heard all the discussions about the moon. This is exactly how we feel now in the landing recovery team. We're so ecstatic. Yeah. Again, we have to recover the capsule. I want to make sure we don't forget about our Orion.
Lily's all about business. She's thinking about what's next. But yeah, speaking of these 10 days, I mean, we have been along for the journey with them, live with them 24/7 for 10 days, and just really seeing the engagement that we've gotten from around the world. What do you hope people take away from this mission?
I think that's fantastic. So, my story was that I went to the Kennedy Space Center. I was born in Colombia. I was 10 years old when we moved to the United States, but when I was 7, my family took me to the visitor center, and that's when I learned about Apollo. And we went to the moon, and I learned about astronauts, and that story was what really fueled me to want to do STEM and want to be an astronaut. And I think that this Artemis program is going to do exactly what what girls, my age back then is 7, young people right now, girls and even like young men, obviously. But we want to empower people to know that you can do this, right? If you want to come and work for NASA, if I did it, they can do it. And Artemis program is just going to inspire everybody, and I'm so happy about that. Yeah. Like Apollo inspired me.
Thank you so much, Lily. Really appreciate you being here. As you said, still a lot of work to do. 5 to 6 more hours to recover Orion that's still out in the water. So I'll let you get back to it. But you had beautiful words to say again. We hope that this inspires people. We hope that you come and join us at NASA and accomplish great things with us in the future. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Megan, and safe sailing out there in the Pacific. Here in Mission Control, it is now all quiet. The team of flight controllers and all their support personnel have left the room to enjoy the aftermath of a textbook touchdown by integrity that splashed down in the Pacific right on target to complete this historic flyby of the moon, the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for the night and point you to a post-splashdown news conference in 15 minutes at 9:35 p.m. Central Time, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time, where managers will discuss the return of the Integrity spacecraft and the completion of the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for this evening and historic mission in the history books. This is Mission Control Houston. Main chute deploy. And we have 3 good main chutes.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Well, everyone, there you have it. That wraps up the coverage of the Artemis II crew splashdown. Obviously, that was unreal watching that happen live. Super exciting to see this mission being successful, 100% success. And you know, it's like, they're gonna start.
Integrity is ready for the event.
I'm gonna let this run in the background here while I rant.
Station, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Integrity for a voice check.
Word that I want to use. We're gonna mute that. There we go. But all right, so that's it. I mean, like I was saying, super successful mission. Touchdown was flawless. All 3 parachutes opened perfectly. The splashdown and recovery conditions, like the weather conditions, could not have been better. The waves were super calm. The ocean was super calm. All the crew members seem to be in really good shape. Obviously, they're going into the medical bay to get their get inspected as the adrenaline kind of wears off from their landing and stuff. So they're going to get a little bit closer of an inspection and get out of their suits and stuff. And they'll be heading back to land tonight, hopefully. And like I said, there's going to be a press conference here in a little bit. I'm not going to stick around and listen to that, but NASA will be live streaming if anyone wants to go over there and listen to it. But yeah, that's it. I've said it already early on the stream. I'll save you guys the ramble again, but I'm so excited for what is to come with the Artemis program. Artemis 3 next year, Artemis 4 in 2028. Hopefully we can stay on that timeline and see everything happen as it's supposed to. But with that, I'm going to close off this stream. We will be back hopefully here tomorrow morning. Let's check our app real quick. We have CRS with the International Space Station crew resupply mission. Actually, this is a Cygnus launch tomorrow. It is not a cargo dragon. It is not a cargo dragon launching tomorrow morning, but there is a Northrop Grumman Cygnus spacecraft launching on board a Falcon 9 tomorrow morning at 7:41 a.m. And that will be a return to launch site landing. So we're going to see that booster come back and land at one of the new landing zones at the launch site. I believe it's launching. It's a landing zone launching and landing at Slick 40. Verify this information here. Yep, launching from Slick 40, booster landing at Landing Zone 40, which was just recently constructed right off to the side of Slick 40. So these return to launch site landings, we're going to start seeing the booster actually return and land right next to the launch site, much like the Super Heavy booster does down over in Starbase, because SpaceX no longer owns the landing sites that they previously were using for like the dual Falcon Heavy booster landings and stuff. So we're gonna start seeing a lot more boosters landing right next to the launch site, which is pretty cool to see in my opinion. But yeah, we'll hopefully be back tomorrow morning to bring you guys coverage of that launch. as long as everything stays good. I think weather was green, everything was looking good. So as long as there's no delays or scrubs or anything tomorrow, we should be back tomorrow morning for that. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to close this stream off. I hope everyone enjoyed watching the splashdown and crew recovery along with me for Artemis 2. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll be back here again in a year from now watching the Artemis 3 crew getting recovered from their splashdown. So with that, I'm going to close it out here, and I will see you all next time.